أعوذ بالله من الشر الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Isra verses 13 through 15. بالله من الشر الشيطان الرجيم وكل إنسان ألزمناه طائره في عنقه ونخرج له يوم القيامة كتابا يلقاه منشورا اقرأ كتابك كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا من اهتدى فإنما يهتدي لنفسه ومن ضل فإنما يدل عليها ولا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى وما كنا معذبين حتى نبعث رسولا. The translation is, we have bound each human being's destiny to his neck. On the day of resurrection, we shall bring out a record for each of them, which they will find spread wide open. Read your record. Today, your own soul is enough to calculate your account. Whoever accepts guidance does so for his own good. Whoever strays does so at his own peril. No soul will bear another burden, nor do we punish until we have sent a messenger. This verse of Quran and many other verses of Quran, they talk about accountability, the hisab, hisab, your account. And that in the day of judgment, each person, their own account becomes like open book. Right now, our accounts are closed book. Nobody can see our accounts. Nobody can, know what we think, what we do every day. So our accounts are closed except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on that day, our accounting, our books becomes kind of open and we can see it. And then there are many verses of Quran talks about, how this accountability is done. But what it is not even one, as Surah Al-Zalzal says, not even a grain of tiny act is omitted from this book. So everything is there. And then on the subject of accountability, there is huge, great tradition in Islamic Islamic mysticism and also overall Islamic scholarship that we should do our accounting here. We should self-accountability, that's what they call it. We should do muhasabeh nafs, they call it. So we should do accountability of what we do, preferably, every day. But if not, at least maybe annually. This is where today is last day of 2021, and these occasions, like the end of the year, our birthdays, our beginning of Ramadan, beginning of Muharram, all these special occasions, I think it's a really great time to set time aside and kind of reflect what we have done the past year or past several months. There's another verse, Surah Al-Hashr. This is verse 18. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullaha wa la tandur nafsun ma qaddamat liqadan wattaqullaha innallaha khabirun bima ta'malun. You who believe, be mindful of God. Remember God. And let every soul consider carefully what it sends ahead for tomorrow. So that's what exactly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks. So each soul, all of us should be accountable of what, for tomorrow means, the day, the hereafter. what we are accumulating this world and what we are sending for tomorrow. Be mindful of God again. Wattaqullah, for God is well aware of everything you do. And then the next verse is very interesting. وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ, and don't be like those who forgot God. So God caused them to forget their own souls. But how can we? They are the rebellious one. So the question is, how can we forget ourselves? I mean, we never forget ourselves. What it really means is we get so busy in our daily lives that we kind of don't reflect on how we're growing as a human being. We don't reflect on it. We're just busy on everyday life and everything we're doing. And all of us, on our habits, we go do work, do this, wake up, do usual stuff. So as I said, the importance of self-accountability. There are also many hadiths from the Prophet and also many hadiths from rawayat from the Imams says, we should do it, our self-accountability right now in this world, as I said, preferably every day. There's a saying, hadith from the Prophet, peace be upon him, says, the wise person is one who holds himself accountable and works for what comes after death. So you're working for the akhirah. And the weak, impotent person is one who follows its vain desires. So it's Hawaii nafs. You follow your own desire. You don't spend time and reflect to how your actions, what you're doing, will end up in the hereafter. And then Imam Ali alayhi salam says, hold yourself accountable for your deeds and demand it to do what is ordained, and supply yourself with provisions and be prepared before you're brought back to life. And then also Imam Ali alayhi salam says, man ought to have an hour, a certain time in which nothing preoccupies him and which he holds himself accountable and examine what he has gained for himself and what he has accumulated against it. So, but we know that being accountable to oneself or even setting aside like half an hour every day is so difficult these days. Because why? Because you're always, your phone, is trying to distract you, your computer, your emails, your notepad, your iPad, whatever you have, or just the daily, what daily goes on. So even if we cannot do it in, as Imam Ali alayhi salam says daily, I mean, that's preferred. But at least maybe we should do like 1 hour, couple hours every week, weekly. Or not bi-weekly or monthly, or at least right now we're getting to the end of this year annually. Annual set aside and do a self-accountability. There's another verse in Quran which talks about the importance of how our accounts or our deeds are shown to us in the hereafter. This is it says in this verse, Surah Al-Qasas, they'll be lined, this verse 48 and 49. They'll be lined up before your Lord. Now you have to come to us as we first created you, although you have claimed that we had not made any such appointment for you. The record of their deeds, the kitab, the record of their deeds will be laid open, and you will see the guilty, dismayed at what they contain. Say, woe to us. يَقُولُونَ يَا وَيْلَتَنَا مَا لَهَذَا الْكِتَابِ. They say, woe to us, what a record this is. It does not leave any deed, small or large, unaccounted for. So every small deed we do in this world are accounted in the book that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is basically preparing for us. They will find everything they ever did laid in front of them your Lord will not be unjust to anyone. And sometimes we think, oh, that's impossible. Some people, it's impossible. Well, it's happening right now. I mean, if mankind, can record everything that we do every day, there are people who are recording basically 24 hours what they do every day, and they upload it, in a server in the cloud. And you can practically right now, we have the technology to record every single thing that we're doing, right? It's not that hard. We can have camera all the time to do whatever we do. And then, and also if we can do it, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do it for you. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not only records of what we're doing in sort, but also what we're thinking, our niyyah, because become very important, because many times, may do very good deeds, but they maybe have our niyyah, maybe something else. But anyway, that's another matter. So this is a time to remember how important is self-accountability. It's very hard to do it in these days because we are all so much distracted. It was even hard at the time of the Prophet. That's why the Prophet says, there are people who would forget themselves. They forget God. They would forget God. Even at that time, there was no TV, no movie, nothing, because it is a part of
نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. صل على محمد وعلى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. So in the last first point that we talked about the importance of self-accountability, or if you want to put it in other words, self-reflection. Spend the time to reflect on what we have done in the past day, past week, past month, or right now, past year. And even better is not just to think about it, which is the first part, but also to the best is to write it, to write what you have done, or reflect upon it, but put it on writing. Now, reflection, or if you want to put it into more corporate kind of terminology, a review. You're reviewing. You're doing annual review. In the corporate world, companies have annual review, or they have 6-month review. So we want to do daily review or bi-weekly review, or whatever, kind of reflect on what you're doing. So, there have been a bunch of studies. They say that University of Zurich researchers concluded that reflecting on how you have overcome past challenges helps you to better process negative experiences. People have the ability to use these moments as a source of creativity and motivation. So, that means if something happened bad to you in the past, You reflect upon it. Just don't, do busy things, but reflect upon it and use that as a learning tool. So you use all these reflection and self-accountability time to learn what you have, what mistakes you have made or what wrong thing you have done, and try to not repeat it and learn from it and build upon it. There's another study by Association of Psychological Science found that when people reflect on time and who they are, it made them less likely to cheat or to be dishonest. So it has nothing to do that, nothing to do with Islam or being Muslim. Just thinking, reflecting on what you have done, how you spend your time. People feel more encouraged to act in ways they are proud of. So spending some time, because all of us, we have all, well, we say in Islam, wujdan or consciousness. So when we spend time thinking, reflecting, rather than doing things all the time, not spending any time to reflect, then we still can see what we have done right, what we have done wrong, and kind of self-correct our action. They say even a study by Rice University study concluded that reflecting on one's personal belonging, what we have accumulated during the past year or whatever, reduce the desire to impulsively buy a new product. Even reflecting, what do I have? That helps us to not buy more. A lot of us are impulsive buyers. We just walk by the store or see something on Amazon or something. Let's buy it. Now it's so easy. It's just a click. We buy it. We buy it. But a lot of time we don't need those stuff. Because we already have them. Have another color or another brand or whatever. We just buy it because it's impulsive. Since participants of the study who reflected on the position they recently used had less of an urge to shop. So reflection has many benefits, even according to today's studies and psychology. So there are many tools that you can use. Even there are apps available that you can for your review, for your annual review, for a month review, or what reflection. And many top CEOs or executive of many of these companies, they say that's what they do. They do that self-reflection. They do that muhasabah. Although their muhasabah is really geared for the productivity. How can I be more productive? How can I achieve, how can I rise into corporate world higher? But some of these tools we can use to do our own muhasabah, not only as part of how maybe part of it is how well we do at work, but a lot of it we can use to do how is our relationship with God and others. So they say, how should we do our review, especially, say, here, annual review? The first they say is dedicate the time. That's what Imam and the Prophet says. You have to spend the time. Without time, how can you reflect? They say there are 8,760 hours in a year. And we spend very few of that to really reflect. So one thing is to set time aside. Second one is they say you should celebrate your accomplishments. So we can say, translated in Islamic way, we should really reflect on our blessings. We all, even, we had a difficult time, difficult year. For all of us, this was a very difficult year. Pandemic, with vaccination, and then Delta, and then Omicron. So, and many other things, economic problems, we see inflation and so on. It has been a difficult year, but I'm sure all of us can find things in our life, the blessings in our lives, that we can think about, ponder upon. And then if you want to talk about your own self in your life, you can see what accomplishment you made at your work, accomplishment, relationship with others, with your kids, with your significant others, and many other accomplishments. So you kind of celebrate it, you think about it. And then you look at, how we can kind of unearth opportunities for improvement. You look how I can improve. So exactly, the mom says, okay, when you want to reflect, what do? You reflect upon, what you did, maybe a things you did wrong, haram things you did. Try to reflect upon them and say, okay, I learned that I should stop doing. I wasted a lot of, wasted a lot of my time. I did, hours and hours of binge watching on Netflix. Some of it is okay, but if you do too much of it, you're wasting your time. You're not doing other things. So you say, okay, this year I reflect upon it. I promise myself not, I limit my TV watching, whatever, 1 hour a night, 1 hour a week, whatever. And then what are the improvements? Where I can improve, where I can do more high, more good deeds, helping others, helping family members, helping. So, and then the other thing you do, you set yourself goals. And then in Islam, we also have tawbah, istighfar. We do istighfar, we ask for forgiveness, we kind of vow not to repeat the mistakes that we made last year or today or whatever. And then you set goals. How can I improve myself? How can if I, last year I helped, 5 brothers or sisters to do something. This year maybe I could do 7. So all these things, and then of course we all, we can categorize your life in different areas. You can reflect on how you did, in terms of your job, in terms of your finances, in terms of your relationship with the family members, to the community, all those different areas. You can sit and think how I was, how I did in your health. Health is one of the great blessings that God has given us. How can I be more healthy this year? Avoid whatever, drinking sugary drinks, or avoid avoiding French fries as much as I can. So those kind of things to keep and do walking more, exercising more, anything that can help us be a healthy person and be accountable to the blessing of health that God has given us. So we can all, one thing you should ask before you should really do annual reflection or annual review is, what is important in my life? That's what's really important. The first step is really, what is important? From Islamic perspective, what you're asking is, first is, of course, my relationship with God is very important. It's very central. When secular people look at it, they have all other things. Yes, family is important, but they don't talk about our relationship with God or helping others. Mostly, so we are thinking not only how to help others, community, work, finances, other things, but also our relationship with God. Yes. So also accountability falls in the category of what we say, things that are important but not urgent. If we look at all actions we do every day, they say there are 4 categories. Things that are important but not urgent. Things that are important and urgent. Let's say a house is on fire. It's important because my house is going to burn down. It's urgent because immediate. I have to attend to it right now. If I don't, my house will burn down. So that's, of course, life-threatening. That's most important. A category of stuff are unimportant but urgent. For example, you receive a text message right? It asks you to, you feel you want to answer it right now, but is it really important? It's not important. You can wait another, few hours, even maybe sometimes next day or two to answer that. It's not urgent, but you have it, you want to do it right away. And then things are not urgent and not important. Browsing websites. It's not important, it's not urgent. The category that we mostly forget to spend time upon, things that are important but not urgent, such as reflection, such as accountability, such as many other things that are really important because it will impact our lives and our hereafter, but we don't spend time on it because it's not urgent. The most of the time we spend on things are not important, not urgent, or they are important but not urgent at all. So things that are urgent but not important, so we spend a lot of time on those. For example, as I said, text message or email or something like that. So self-reflection, somebody said you can categorize it in these like 8 categories. One is your spirituality, of course, our relationship with God, relationships, how we interact with others, brothers, sisters, family, life purpose and vision. That's kind of ties into spirituality. What I'm doing on this earth? Why? Those very big picture questions. Hobbies and creativity. If you want to learn things, it's always good to learn things. Islamic language, just increasing our knowledge, personal growth, home and family, and also lastly career and money. So in these 8 categories, you can do it, but of course you can do whatever you think is important to you and whatever is you think are important categories. So at the end, I encourage everyone. This is the last day of 2021. It was, as I said, very difficult year for all of us, for the humanity as a whole. Millions of people lost their lives all over the world, have become sick and ill, and some, as long COVID may never recover. There are many lessons we can discuss. Hopefully, at one point, we can discuss what lessons we learned from 2021. How can we apply those lessons as a community, as a society? But we should, really spend time in the new year. Hopefully, the first week of this new year, to kind of review what we have accomplished, what we have done in the past year, and some self-reflection and review. And hopefully 2022 would be a better year for all of us, for the humanity, and inshallah would be a year that we can get together more often. As you know, Islam is a community religion. Without getting together in Ramadan, getting together in Muharram or various religious occasion or video gathering, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to practice it. It's a very social, communal religion. So inshallah, we can do that more often this year. And I will conclude with Surah Al-Zalzal, recitation of Surah Al-Zalzal, which also talks about how God will really account every little deed that we have done. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها لقال الإنسان ما لها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوحى لها يومئذ يبصر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره. That's the end. Whoever does an upon ways of good will see it. But whoever has done an upon way of evil will also see it. Sallallahu Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد